Today's video is going to be about the Carl Zeiss Tessar. The Carl Zeiss 50mm f2.8 Tessar. Now this lens is known as the eagle eye, because it's sharp. It should be sharp. It probably is sharp. But it's used everywhere. It's used in every, well, not every, but most cameras. This phone has a Tessar lens, and I'm going to be comparing it to this. This is a more modern Tessar lens. It's the black version of the Zebra lens. Now, I also have another Tessar lens, which I'm also going to be shooting. So we have two black Tessar lenses to compare against the Zebra lens. Now the black ones are probably from the 1970s, and this one is probably from the 60s, late 60s. Now they look optically exactly the same. The glass is clean. There doesn't seem to be any fungus, there doesn't seem to be any dust or scratches. They're nice little elements. Of course, I haven't tried that with a torch, looking through the elements. If I did that, guarantee you there'll be dust and there'll be haze. Each lens will be different, slightly different age between each one, less difference between the black ones, of course. But I'm just going to shoot the same old scene, the one that we're familiar with, over there, as you can see. And I'm going to be also taking a shot with the good old Helios, the Pixelvalve Helios 44-2. This one is still in development. We get to this time of year, and of course manufacturing and production and things like that comes to a little bit of a halt because, you know, Christmas and kids and family. But I'm still working on it and enjoying using the prototype. It will be available at some point, and I have got some other updates too about how I'm going to deliver these lenses or lens adapters to you if you actually want them. So that will be coming up at some point. But today's video is going to be about the comparison of the Tessar lenses with an infinity focused shot. So let's have a look. Okay, what we've got here today is two Tessars to start with. We've got the Zebra Tessar on the right and the Black Tessar on the left. The histogram both look different, slightly different, quite a difference actually. And the only difference really between these two shots is time, because the settings are exactly the same. We're shot wide open, and there's only difference is the time. So the time it took me to take the shot, take the lens off the camera and switch them over, and in that time we're seeing a bit more light beaming through the clouds, lighting up Llandudno Great Orme there in the background. Now at the centre of the image, the first thing I see is that and clearly obviously I see that the Black Tessar is not as sharp. And that's surprising, because I thought the Black Tessar, being the newer lens, would beat the Zebra hands down. The corners, of course, the corners, you'd expect them to be a little bit soft, but the centre of the image, no. Well, probably about the same there. You'd expect that, I would have thought. Now, overall, it's a very soft, out of focus kind of blur on that Black Tessar, and that makes me wonder whether there's anything wrong with the lens itself. I'll need to inspect that closer later. We're going to stop down the lens now to see what it's like at f8. So both lenses at f8. The histograms look good. The Zebra on the right and the Black Tessar on the left. Now, it looks sharper. It would do. Every lens looks sharper at f8. And again, even though it's sharper, I can still see that the Zebra Tessar is still sharper than the Black Tessar.
Now there is a slight colour difference in the images, but I think that's the time of day, the time between each shot. I don't think that's anything that's significant. The lines look straight and sharp on the Zebra, and I would even say that they would probably compare well against the Flektogon. Now it might just be a particularly good copy that I have with the Zebra. It might just be that I have a particularly bad copy with the Black Tessar. Now the houses in the distance there, they resolve. I can see the windows. I can barely see the windows in the Black Tessar, the chimney stack as well. It's very blurry. The sharpness just it's horrible. So I'm going to look into this lens. I'm going to open this up and have a look, because I'm not convinced that should be like that. So what I'm going to do is probably test the Black Tessar that I've got here and compare it against the other Black Tessar that I've got, because I'm struggling to believe that Black Tessar should be worse than the Zebra. I would have thought at best it would have been exactly the same. So we're going to look at the Black Tessar against the other Black Tessar. So on the right side, we've got the Black Tessar that we've just been looking at. And on the left, we've got the new Tessar, the new Black Tessar, the one that's not been looked at yet. Looking at the histograms, there's a difference, but it could be the sunlight again. It could be the way it just happens to fade and increase as the clouds pass. The sharpness is definitely difficult to pinpoint. I would say the new Tessar, is that one sharper, do you think? I'm finding it difficult to sort of tell the difference here, because they look almost as sharp. So I think there's a slight sharpness to the new Tessar. Just a very slight, I think. And the corners, of course, it's going to be the same. I can make out the writing there, but it is blurry. Now the settings are all exactly the same. But that's interesting, isn't it? I would expect, if there was anything wrong with the Black Tessar, that it's unlikely that the other Tessar would also have something wrong. But it's possible it could do, so let's have a look and see what the Flektogon was like. So I'm going to compare the Flektogon to the best Flektogon, the red Flektogon, to the Zebra, and see what happens. And straight away, looking at it from f8, I can see that they both look like sharp images. It's a different time of year, so there are differences. But looking at these trees, which one's sharper? It's difficult, isn't it? Now, the red Flektogon has a slight disadvantage because it's a 35mm focal length against a 50mm. It's not a massive difference. It's very close, but it does have a slight advantage, the Tessar. But the lines are all straight. I would say the Tessar does compare to the Flektogon. The Flektogon is definitely sharper by the looks of things, because when we see this here, there is a slight softening on the Tessar when we're comparing both images, but I think it's so close. Very close. And to think that the Tessar is a £20 lens on average. You can buy these lenses for £20 all day, every day. I know that you can pay up to about £50 for them, or as little as £5 sometimes. But all day, you'll be able to pick one up for £20. Now, they resolve the distance there very similar, don't they? Very similar. It's sharper. It's definitely sharper. The Flektogon's definitely sharper, but only marginally sharper. Surprising that, isn't it? What a fantastic lens the Tessar is. It's a very underrated lens, I think. But I am really surprised about the Black Tessar being not quite as good as the Zebra. I might just have some bad black copies. I don't know. I'll need to look into the lenses a little bit closer later, so I'll probably strip down the Black Tessar and have a look to see if it's filthy dirty inside. But these trees, look at that. Look how close the Tessar comes to that Flektogon. Isn't that amazing? The difference in price. I mean, the Flektogon, what's that? £100? £100 lens. I know there's some other differences, but you know, you could get some beautiful bokeh with the Tessar too. Let's have a weird one now. Let's have a look at the Helios 44-2 and compare it to the Zebra. Now, that's going to be a bit strange, isn't it? A closer focal range between them. So the Helios is 55 millimeter and the Tessar is 50 millimeter. So, you know, very close. Which one's sharper? Which one would you say was sharper? I mean, the Helios to me at this level there looks like it's a bit blurry. It's a bit softer. It looks softer there, doesn't it? But is it? I mean, I think as we zoom in closer, you can definitely see that the Helios resolves the image better. It's definitely sharper on the Helios. That's interesting, isn't it? Because it does still look like a soft image when we zoom out. It's glowing, isn't it? Now, I think that could be the way the light blooms, flares. It might be that the black around the edges of the elements in the Helios might not be black enough. So we're seeing some reflected light, I think. And that's what's causing the glow. But it could also be the scratched up lens, because don't forget, my Helios lens has a bad surface. It has a few scratches. But look at that! The house in the background. Look how good the resolution of that Helios lens is. It resolves the image much better. It's clearer, it's sharper. Now, I bet that surprised you, because that surprised me, that the Helios 44-2 was sharper than the Tessar. That's interesting, isn't it? I'm going to compare another Helios later in a different video. I'm going to compare one Helios against another one and see which one's better. But that's quite interesting, isn't it? So if you've enjoyed today's video, if you've liked that, if that was useful, hit that like button, smash that bell, and comment below. Add your comments. What's your lens like? What's your sharpness like? And thanks for watching.